Welcome to the Dark Horse Paranormal Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carr.
And I am Kristen Johnson.
Happy Thursday. I think we're still on Thursday, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least in Eastern time we are.
11:39 Eastern.
11:39. So how are you guys doing tonight? It's great to be here to talk with you.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing an open line show, and we've got some guests with us. And some of you in the know have a link. Feel free to jump in backstage. We'll pull you on. We're doing our sort of paranormal shenanigans again.
Mm-hmm.
So, without a whole lot of ado, I want to get the conversation rolling. So, we're going to start bringing in our guests as they stand. Mr. Reginald Randall, hello. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, Matthew.
Hello. Yeah, I'm
Mr.
always concerned about how loud I am.
You're fine. You're
Levels
fine.
are fine.
Okay.
How are you tonight, Greg?
Hi, guys. Good.
You're fine, Reg, with the volume. You're good. No
Mhm.
problems. I know last time it was really hot, and we're not having that issue at all tonight, so
Nope,
we're good. And Anne-Marie
The
Young.
beautiful.
Good evening, beautiful. How are
Anne-Marie
you?
Hello, I'm good.
Welcome to the Dark Horse Paranormal Podcast.
Welcome.
Well, happy Thursday. And what are you guys up to? Greg, you were just on a show.
Mm-hmm.
I just
Yes,
saw you
I was.
in like the same kind of box that we're in now.
Oh, and he's gone. He touched the screen.
Poof. Anything can happen.
Hello, Mr. Nathaniel J. Gillis.
Ah.
Dope hat, he says.
What's going on, Nathaniel? How you doing, buddy? Happy Thursday. I can't even say that. Happy
Thirsty
Thursday. Jeesh.
You've had a long day.
I have had a very long day. And the reason why we're starting so late is because of that long day. I was on the phone for, I don't know, was it 6-7 hours?
Something like that.
Something
Yeah.
like that. It was a very long work call. So it took us a few minutes here to decompress and kind of put everything together. And of course, we're winging it, which is fun.
Let me
That is what-
know if the air conditioner comes in through my audio because I just
All right.
turned it on.
Okay. So far, so good.
All right, Reg, we will do that.
There is.
And Mr. Koss has returned. Good evening once again.
Wow, what was that?
Don't know.
Reggie turned on his air conditioner and you dropped the meter. He is sending psychic energy to you, Greg.
Oh, it
In
blew
the form of
it blew me right off the air.
You got blown away by that,
Uh,
so to speak.
that was pretty funny.
It is.
I went, what? Where did I go? What?
You were just on a show. We were watching you and we're enjoying it. Do you want to tell us about that real quick? What you were doing?
It's Jeremy York. It's the Things Network, and it's called
Mhm.
Supernatural Talk. And they have a lot of great people that work that show. And you got Nick Millay, you have Irene, and you have Adrian. And I can't remember their last names. It was lucky I remembered their first names, but
Yeah,
that's the way. And they're beautiful. They're beautiful girls. It's just like, wow. It's a lot of fun. And Nick is just a wealth of information when it comes to the history end of it. If you wanted to go ahead and say you got a historical person that handles a lot of investigations and that, he would be the guy to me. Irene does the same kind of thing, and she's from Mississippi. So and Adrian does it, and she's in Colorado. I've watched them quite a few times. Go
The
ahead.
internet, we can all reach out, get together, and this is something we couldn't do, a while back. It was a big to do to have these kind of conversations, but it is par for the course here now in 2022. One good thing I can say about 2022 because I really don't have a lot of great things to say about
No.
2022.
We thought
But,
2021 was bad.
I know we keep saying this every year. It's like, oh,
Well, we had a sign when we were outside. It was like, oh, this is not going to be a good year.
yeah, for the last few years. But we're all here, and I'll tell you what, the good stuff of our lives is really talking to you guys,
Mm-hmm.
being
Amen
able
to
to
that.
get out there and do these things and have open conversations like this is just wonderful and beautiful. Life is a beautiful experience and it's a painful experience, right? And there's all these emotions attached to these things, and we wonder often where those emotions go and what happens once they traverse our bodies. We suspect that they may be going out into the ether and perhaps taking on a consciousness of their own. One of the topics that keeps coming around in our shows is like, what happens to those emotions? Do they take on a life of their own and a collective consciousness? Is this an explanation for angels, for demons? It's very interesting. The word angel itself is derived from the word messenger, yet demons, DAIMONS, right? It is a messenger, according to the ancient Greeks, the ancient Egyptians, between the humans and the gods that they worshipped, which was a day-to-day thing, and they worshipped them constantly. They built giant monolithic structures to these gods, goddesses, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at the paranormal and we have these kind of things we can't explain as being our deceased uncle, as it were, or whoever, and we have these sort of powerful forces that intervene, you have to look back on history and say, what are these things? Is this right? Are they messengers to something greater than us? What do you guys think?
Send me the link.
You're muted,
I-
Anne-Marie.
I just unmuted it. A lot of things are signs, the smallest little things, coincidences, synchronicities. It's all energy. Everything's got a different energy, and it all certain deities have certain things that you like the owl or
Which
the
you have
fish
outside
or
your house
deer.
right now.
Yeah, or snakes or rabbits, or everything has, and it all goes with something else. It's all kinds of different labels and different names of all the same thing. And that energy that you put out, what you not put out, but when you, like, I hear the owl, to me, that's a sign of being wise. You got something, be smart, pay attention. It's
Mm.
just a
Owls are
sign.
associated with a number of gods and goddesses. They're sort of a mystical creature.
Hmm.
We've
Yeah.
got a couple there.
Yes, you
actually,
just
on the
got-
bookshelf.
yeah.
There's a recent one that was added.
Yes.
Uh,
Also associated with aliens as well.
Right.
Yeah.
why do you think we draw these sort of associations?
Different lessons. Like I'll have a different animal sign or guardian spirit guide depending on what lesson I'm needing to learn or pay attention to. They just kind of like show up in the trees for me. I take pictures and I'll see an owl, the shape of an owl, or I'll see a shape of a snake, or I'll see a bear, or
Dragon.
I'll see a
Did
dragon,
you say
or
a deer or a beer?
either or.
Is that the Massachusetts accent?
I don't think you drink, if I'm not mistaken. So it just
No.
I'll see an owl. I'll see a deer. I'll see a beer.
Bear.
Bear.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Bear.
Is that Massachusetts
Like
thing?
the aspirin.
I know I have that accent. 20 years I haven't lived there, and I still have the accent.
Can't shake it.
Nope.
Yeah, we can't either. So no, I totally understand. And it's interesting that we have these sort of connections to animals and wildlife and that there are correspondents to these gods, going back how many years, since primitive times, as far as we know, maybe further.
Woodpeckers, opportunities knocking. They all have a different stuff. I see woodpeckers, and I can, within 24 hours, something has to do with opportunity will
No
show
kidding.
up.
Wow. That's cool. That's
Mhm.
really cool.
Awesome.
Because I have them every day.
Yeah.
The thing is,
Opportunity is always knocking.
thank you,
Yep.
brother. I forgot the word on our Halloween show, so I'm breaking it out now. So it's not a waste of $8 to Amazon money to Jeff Bezos with his dick ship.
Good Lord.
Ah, society is so strange, right?
Don't even get us started.
You know what? It still makes it worthwhile. No
Absolutely, totally.
matter what we run into,
It's beautiful.
Mhm.
We talk a lot about the negative and these hauntings that are negative, and people are being possessed and hurt, and
Mhm.
everything else Hollywood can spill out. But there are so many beautiful emotions and people out there, and events and things in all of our lives that are wonderful. And I wonder where those emotions go when you feel this something so strong. Um, what happens? Does it leave the body? Does it become something else? That's what I'm curious about. I'm wondering, like, where does these feelings go? They seem too strong to just be self-contained. Do they exist beyond us? Do you think that's possible?
Reggie?
Yeah.
Here?
Pretty easy answer. Yep. They extend beyond us. There's no doubt. I'm trying to come up with a quick example. Somebody gets murdered. Somebody gets murdered, and they stay around. Their emotions are, struck. They're in shock, and they just stick around with those emotions, trying to get the killer, to justice. You understand what I'm saying? I don't know how to
Yeah.
word that exactly.
Well,
But
think
yeah,
about
those are,
things like a battlefield, right? Where there's so much
Yeah.
trauma that takes place, and then they're often blamed for hauntings. Gettysburg would be a good example. We live in the Bridgewater Triangle, which a lot of people know in the paranormal as being this sort of haunted area
Well,
because of maybe emotional scarring from the wars
King
that happened
Philip's
here,
War.
from King Philip's War. The war between the Native Americans and the white man in the day was the bloodiest per capita war ever to occur in this country. Per capita meaning like the population sizes. And you have to think, well, why does that happen, right? It has to be the emotions, not the actual injuries per se, but the emotions that people felt. Um, we think it goes somewhere, like it goes beyond us. It's not just a personal experience that it might leave. It might take on a consciousness of its own. One of the topics we talk about a lot on the show is panpsychism, right?
Panpsychism, yes.
Yeah, or psychism. Thank you, Kristen.
You're
She's
welcome.
keeping me in check.
Actually, you were doing that earlier for me, so
That's right. We support each other,
yes.
and that's how it works. But yeah, right. So we're all kind of made of the same stuff, essentially. And if that's true, then why is it, any difference between an animal or an inanimate object that a consciousness can maybe take it over, can communicate through it in some way? How do things like haunted objects happen if it's not true?
Now we're getting into animism, right?
Yeah.
Animism, panpsychism.
Yeah.
If you had a haunted
The
clock
umbrella.
that, did something at midnight every fifth Tuesday.
Yeah.
And we all hear stories about things like this. Why is that even possible?
And
I think it has a lot to do with the attraction it has on that specific thing, like a hairbrush. Is their favorite hairbrush, uh, favorite hat, favorite area, somewhere where they went to every day at that same time of day. Things uh, haven't changed, so that energy is still doing them the same things.
that's I think that's what they call a residual
Hmm.
over and over. Yeah.
Irene Takura from Japan.
Hi, Irene.
We see you out there. Would you, if you'd like to join our conversation, let us know and chat, and I'll send you a link.
I asked I think it was Barbara Woodbury. And she said she was in her jammies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. It is jammy time, and again, we had a late start because of work and things. But I just wanted to have like an open conversation. We could talk about anything.
They don't you think they still
Think so.
keep their individuality when it comes to their actions?
I think the personality crosses over with death. You're the same person you are when you're alive, at least on an emotion level. When you pass, I think there's a lot more communication that happens with emotions than say actual verbal words. We can get an EVP that maybe is a sentence or something like that, but there's usually an emotion driving it. Many mediums will state that they hear things or see things, however they're clair, which means clear in French, clairvoyant, clairaudient, whatever it is,
Labels.
comes from an emotional level.
Right.
So it's like these are the things that survive, and the way the communication is actually given out. If there
Yeah,
were no emotions behind it, there would be no really good intent, right? And when we speak of things like, I don't know, any kind of psychic ability, whether we're talking about you know, being able to communicate with the deceased, or say witchcraft, there's an intent behind it, and that intent comes from emotion, essentially.
You think
You
that
ever walk
applies?
into a room? I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You ever walk into a room and somebody's been fighting in that room? You can feel that tension in
Feel
the
that
air.
energy.
Or if you walk into a room and it's so happy, so light, there's
Yes.
been laughter. I think that energy that's a different energy everywhere.
Sorry,
yeah,
Greg.
you're.
Oh.
Oh, go ahead.
I had a brain fart.
That's okay. Irene Takura would like to join.
I saw that. Looking for
And
her name.
Anthony Free has a question. We'll put that up in a second. Go ahead, Reggie. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna comment that your soul is gonna stay the same when you leave your body. The only difference is when you cross. Some speak of different levels that you pass through as after you cross.
Mm.
You become more and more enlightened, and some people that will say that you return reincarnated, to learn more lessons that maybe you didn't learn the first time. Okay, so but it's still your same soul,
And
and
that to Anthony's question too.
yeah, and it's still the same soul, and so when you go through the light, you're looking down. Now you're probably, as soon as you're through the light and you're like learning what to do better next time, or however it works, you're looking down at what you did. You're probably shaking your head, man, I shouldn't have done that one. I shouldn't have did that. And so maybe you go back and
Isn't
you
that
don't
part
do
of life
that the next
experience,
time.
right? We have to learn these lessons. It becomes obvious to people as they go through their lives, like, well, okay, this was a a monumental occasion because I learned the damn lesson. You move through it, and we all go through these things. Sometimes that lesson it takes a lot of times to get through to us. We have to keep relearning it till we got it. Why is that? When you think about people, just like the idea of the biology of a planet and people just populating and growing, yet we all have this idea that wow, there was a lesson in this, there was a lesson in that, and we learn as we go, and it seems to make life more worth living. I mean, do you feel like that? Do you feel like these are very important things, and it seems to be like a purpose, right? Like a life's purpose
They
to learn lessons.
it makes you. It sort of revitalizes you. It sort of makes you feel like you actually really accomplishing something, even though it's an emotion. In that respect, that's something that if you compare scenarios and you say this person passed in his sleep, and then you go to somebody that dies in a car crash or in a fire or anything like that, their emotional levels are going to be a little different than the person who died in his sleep.
It could potentially
Mhm.
scar things
Yeah.
and leave an imprint, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
All right. We talk a lot about those imprints and residual hauntings, but I don't think that's all there is to the story. Now, a couple more people have joined us. I'm going to bring Irene Takura on and Nathaniel J. Gillis.
Holy cow, Nate's on.
Hi.
Oh my God.
Greetings from
Oh,
Japan.
Yes. Greetings.
Hello, hello.
Hello, how you doing, Nate?
the face,
Irene?
Irene. Nathaniel, our brother.
Hello,
How
everybody.
you doing?
Hello.
Good
Good to
evening.
see you guys.
Thank
What
you.
are we into tonight? What are we into tonight?
We're getting into anything that just seems
Yeah?
to. We're going to throw enough mud around,
Mhm.
mud being, a key word for shit, and see what sticks.
Hey, man. That's the best
I
way to
Because
had
do
I
it,
a
right?
get
the
into a
case.
deep discussion, but I don't know how to work totally into it yet. So we're just kind of feeling
Okay.
things out. We want to see how this goes and what direction it goes in. The idea, I think, being emotions, have a lot to do with hauntings,
Right.
maybe possession, um,
Oh, yeah.
and life's purpose.
Oh, yeah.
Because if we can figure out the meaning of life tonight, that would just be wonderful.
So
I had
everybody's.
an
Yeah,
interesting
right.
case
Yes,
a
Irene.
year ago. It was really cool, but it's really sad on the other hand. Um, a man who owned this property in the late 1800s, he raped his daughter
Oh
and
Lord.
he killed her, and he killed his wife because she'd find out, and he killed all the kids too, and they're all buried on the property. This is not here in Japan. This is here in America, in
Hmm.
Michigan, and the homeowner didn't know what happened, but he found a little girl spirit in his house, and then the man contacted me. He's also a paranormal investigator, and he contacted me and he asked me for help. And I found all the children, where they were buried, and I found his wife. I know where she is, but he can't go on that property because that property's been split up in several divisions, and that property is owned by a different person now. And then it was really weird because I had to bless the house. I had to kick out the father, which became a dark spirit now, and I had to kick him out of the house, and I had to bless the land, and I had to cross over all mother, the daughter, the two sons that he also killed, and everyone else that was on that property. If I didn't find out who they were, and the next after that, I found out that the property was before that in the 1800s. Was before that was owned by a slave owner. I think that was this man's probably father or something like that. And then he had a slave little
Curiosity,
girl. Her name was
did this
Sadie,
did this
and
lead
he killed
to some
her.
kind of
He
conviction?
killed
Did
her afterwards too. And
a lot
then
of
She's getting.
blood on that land?
Yeah.
yeah,
Did his being able to pick this up, or your being able to pick this up in a psychic way, lead to some sort of crime being charged?
Yeah, but you see, how can you tell the police right now that I'm the one who found it and I live in Japan? But how can you tell the police
Exactly.
about that? So he didn't know
Good
what to
point.
do
Good
with the
point.
bodies that are buried on his land, and he
Good
goes,
point.
"Oh my God, what am I gonna do?" And like he thought about digging them up and calling the police, but he thought about, if I did that, how would I explain to the police how I know where all the bodies are buried? I said, "Yeah." We shook our heads. We kind of like scratched. And he said, "Oh, the only thing that I can do is lay flowers on the grave where they were buried. That's it. But before
Yeah.
that, there was this little slave girl. He killed the little slave girl, and that was buried, and her body's buried outside the master bedroom window. So
Wow.
yeah,
It's a
That's a
little
tough
hard
case right there, man.
Yeah.
that block. Yeah. Yeah. I think y- it's enlightening though that he got that information. Though, were they able to pass it on to authorities? Was there anything that went beyond?
like he couldn't. He doesn't know how to do it now. If he could, how would he do it? How would he explain it? You see,
Hmm.
that's
Mm,
the thing.
Right.
right.
I've
Right.
wondered that myself for a very long time.
It is a
It's
tough business to
yeah.
be.
You leave it up to karma.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. And the thing is that there was a lot of bricks that were laying around on the property. I said, "Oh, that was just outdoor oven that they used to bake bread in." But I found that the oven was also used for something else. And really, I don't want to tell you about it. But I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how he got rid of the two boys.
Oh, that's awful.
Ah, good
Yeah,
Lord.
Sad.
it,
Good
it,
Lord.
it it's
Daniel.
just it's just like
Yeah.
it
That's
makes
right.
your stomach turn. But I couldn't find out what I couldn't find in my head what to do, but I had to move on and do my job and finish the cleansing and finish the crossing over and finish everything else. And it was just ooh, like it made the hair on your back cringe, and it made the hair on your arm go up, and it was just ooh, it was just disgusting and sad, everything all at once. You had all these feelings all at once. And but he
Emotions.
kept he kept the property. He gave it to his sons because he
Emotions.
promised the
Oh,
spirits that he would never sell the house. So he fixed up the house. He gave it to his sons to live in it, and he moved it into a different house, which is also haunted now too.
Can't imagine why.
Yeah.
right, right.
The
No reason.
question about people being
Good point.
haunted versus locations.
Yeah.
And
Plans. Yeah.
Nathaniel, I wanted to see what you were up to
Oh
recently
my
because I know
God.
you've been involved in some pretty deep cases like this as well, really.
Yeah.
And where do like the authorities fit into that? Like, what has been your experience? Do they listen to you? Do they say you're
The
crazy,
authorities.
or do you have to
Well,
have?
I mean, even parapsychologists are looked at pseudoscientists by the scientific community. So where do we go from there? So yeah, of course the authorities do. It's just like UFO disclosure. Nobody wants to disclose it because they'll lose everything they have. So it's the same phenomenon we see in the the law enforcement. But absolutely, yeah, there are local hauntings, and I think that's a tremendous case Irene has. I mean, that's some heavy stuff. People don't realize how
Sure is.
heavy that is. Until they actually are in that moment and they encounter the energy. That's wild. Really, it's terrifying.
Right, to have that knowledge. And how do you pass on
Right.
that knowledge? You can't just call the police department and say, "Hey, I think there are 15 bodies potentially buried in a town that I don't live in."
Right.
Right.
Right?
Right.
It's hard to pull that off. Yet, psychic people do get some of this information. Missing people. We've talked to lots of people who seek out these missing people, and it's very hard for them to convey that information to their authorities. Some of them work
Mhm.
intimately with them if they know them, but crossing that barrier, that breach
That's that
between
Rhode Island
you
accent
and
there,
the
Chris.
phone.
That barrier. That
Rhode Island.
barrier.
I say,
Ah,
I love it, my man. I
you
love it.
know,
That barrier.
come down to
Yeah, yeah.
sports bar, buy you a beer.
Let me get
You
your
know, that kind of
khakis.
thing.
Yeah.
Park my car in the dooryard,
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
That's
I love
how.
these
in the
people. That's why
driveway,
I'm jumping
Very
to
good.
them. I love them.
I like to buy you a beer.
Yeah, yeah.
a beer.
You're getting it,
You're
Greg.
right. people, it's the same thing with Elizondo. People give him down the road for everything, it's just when you get to a certain level where you have your career on the line and somebody gives you a case, it's like, oh my God, I'll believe in it until it costs me something, and it's the same thing. We see it all the time. Yeah, man, Chris, you were talking about something earlier that I thought was incredible. How did these things manifest? And you're talking about things possessing images and statues and whatnot. I think that's a fascinating subject. And, I think it's 100% true. We see that even when you're talking about the attributes of the deceased, it's not just emotions. It's literally memory, right? It's language preference. It's, I'm going to solve my own murder. Now think about that. That's crazy, right? It's a wild blueprint for the afterlife, but I think they absolutely do manifest in that way. And I don't want to shift this conversation in that direction. I know I am.
No, please
It's not
do.
really my intention. I think it's fascinating.
Open lines, my
right?
friend.
In the debunk phenomenon of the 16th century, we had cases literally where people would be possessed by ghosts. They would solve their own murders. Huh? Wow. Incredible. And so, like I said before, it goes even deeper than just emotions. There is a purity of consciousness that we can evolve into, right? Where we could pick that up, and there could be a pure concentration of communication where they feel comfortable with telling us their stories. I've seen it before, because I grew up in church. I've seen people delve into that before accidentally, but it's there, which I think is really interesting.
There is always a ghost story about the ghost of deceased that wants to come back and tell their story of how they were killed or what might have happened to them. They have a message. It usually, again, attached to an emotion, right? Like, I've been wrong. Yeah. They feel they need to press that on. Why do you think that happens?
I'll answer. But
like,
I don't want to hog the microphone, man.
Upon leaving death, it's out to all of you guys.
Well, pick one time so we can.
Why they would feel so driven to tell it even beyond the grave.
Boy.
Yeah,
that's a hard question to answer. Really difficult.
Your memory. Hey, remember me?
Right.
And we're all sitting away.
Trying to be irrelevant. I'll tell you what's so interesting about the debunk phenomenon.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Go ahead, Reginald. Or which one was it? I'm sorry, I wasn't watching. I heard.
Yeah, it was
sorry,
me.
Reginald, go ahead, bud.
I might have a delay. Do I have a delay again?
No, you're good.
Not. Oh, okay. No, I'm one of those cases where I have a fascination for solving unsolved things, and it's very, very hard to make a phone call. Sometimes you can't. I've there's a couple of times, I won't say the names or anything on here, but there was a couple cases of an Amber Alert, and I was told that they had passed away, and I figured out where they were, and there was just no way I could make that call. It was within a couple hours after they came up missing. There was no way I was going to make that call.
It's basically
but they were
self-incriminating, right? We've had that conversation on the side. And
well, they would instantly be driven.
These things, yeah.
They would instantly be driving to Madison to pick me up if I'd have made that call. And they were found that
right. Great point, Reginald. Great.
They
point.
were right, and they the next morning or the next day, and when I go to try and solve like an unsolved murder and I call on them, I've had the victim come right through my spirit box trying to tell me what happened. It's pretty powerful stuff,
And you use that
I had one
information to
instance.
locate a body, right? If I'm not mistaken, Reg, where it was near a bridge, and you pretty much knew exactly where it was, and it was within a matter of a day, but that the police actually found the same body without
Well, they
giving the names of the
yeah,
case.
there was a call that I made. What happened was, now you guys could probably look it up and figure out who I'm talking about. The family doesn't personally know this happened with me. It didn't go public, but there was a little girl that was pulled under in the Rock River down by Janesville, and her brother and her were playing in the Rock River, and like we're in the water, and a fisherman and his wife were nearby, and she managed to go and pull the brother out as the girl was being swept under, and it happened on Thursday night. Well, on a Saturday morning, they had all the search crews down there, and I turned on the news and saw the family on the side of the river, just distraught. And oh, man, I'm going to get emotional here because it's something else telling this story. Okay.
Mhm.
Well,
Anyway,
emotions.
oh God. I turned on all my equipment, everything I had in here, pulled up Google Maps, and the white noise was going and just everything. And within an hour, by me pointing at the map, they were saying a little farther, a little farther, a little farther, and they were saying under the bridge, she needs a boat. They're saying every aspect of this. And by like within an hour after I started, I was calling Janesville Police Department with their exact location on Saturday morning. And on Sunday, I turned everything back on again, and they had a protocol, so they had to do every inch of the river. They couldn't just jump down on some stranger's suggestion. You know what I mean? And so
Right.
that's why nothing was really taken seriously. Well, then Sunday, I had it all turned on. She's still under the bridge. Now she's under a boat. And I'm like, I watched the news to see where they were, and they were like 200 feet from where her location was. So I called back on Sunday, and I said, look, I'm telling you, she's under that bridge. I pointed at the map. I said this bridge, and I heard a yes through it. They were going, the ones that were coming forward to help me. I said, can you go check this? And I would hear the voice come through. Hold on, Reg. Give me a second. I'll go look. And I mean 10 seconds through that, tachyon energy. They were
There
back
it
in the
is.
room going, yeah, okay, she's under the
There it is.
bridge.
There it is.
I mean, it was something else.
I see her.
Hey,
I see her.
I pointed
I see her
to the
crying
bridge
too.
on the map. I didn't say a word. Hello?
Oh,
I
we can hear
pointed
you.
to the bridge on the map without saying a word, and I said, "Look, I need you guys to tell me and cross that bridge." And they gave me the name. They told me how deep that water was. And when I called the police again on Sunday, Janesville department said, "Let me patch you through to the deputy." And they patched me through, and
Mhm.
Spirit told me that she was 7 foot in depth. And without telling that to the officer, I asked, "So how deep is it under there?" And he goes, "Well, it's about 6 feet." I mean, he says this. I didn't even tell him about what they told me, and I told him where
Right.
she was. Well, they were still combing through. Monday morning rolls around. I don't have any of this on, my spirit boxes and that, and I step out. Oh, whew. I love you, honey. Um,
Yeah.
I stepped out onto the balcony. I'm on a second floor apartment, and my psychic medium visions and all that started kicking in, and I could imagine myself. This was about 11 a.m. I could imagine myself like standing in a canoe is what I was picturing, and I could see a little hand reaching up, and I was reaching down to grab it, and then out of nowhere I could hear it. She was found, and this is outside, no spirit boxes on or anything, and whew, I came back in and turned the news on, and about 12:30 a news flash came up that she was found under that bridge in that exact spot at 11 when I was having that
Wow.
moment out there. It was one of the most amazing, I would never even have thought to try to do this, but the week before, and I got great video of this too, this will kind of put a smile on your face. This is how I came up with it, to try something like this for the first time. The week before, I was at St. Michael's Cemetery, and I couldn't find Arnold Dreyer's stone. And I asked everybody in the cemetery to help lead me to his stone, and they did. I was walking around, and John Wakerhauser goes, "Back, Reg, back. You passed him." And I could hear him say it. I'm like, and I turn around, and his stone was 5 feet behind me. Well, that following weeks when this happened at the Rock River.
Yeah.
I apologize for all of my
the baby.
You're good, Reginald. I enjoyed that.
No, Reggie,
sharing.
it's good, but at the heart of it, you yourself are feeling emotional, thinking about it, which has to be a clue as to how maybe all this works, right? You have this emotional link to her. You really felt for her, and that seems to be your cue for your ability to hone in. I just think there's more to it, than it's maybe been discussed or is in literature, etc. I think the role of emotion, or how we led this off, may play a bigger role.
Oh, the energy draw too.
Yeah.
Yes, most definitely.
And being able to feel that person, that being, a lot of people only see things the way they
Yeah,
are,
definitely.
where Reggie can feel how somebody else is and direct his vibration to that energy.
But that's very taxing on Reggie.
Yes.
Very
Right,
taxing.
right.
Because there's a big emotion behind it, right? So when you say cue in on that vibration, that vibration exists as an emotion.
Tachyon energy.
Tachyon, here we go.
Possibly the tachyon energy.
You guys keep on bringing up tachyon, and
I know.
I missed it that night, and I'm kicking myself in the butt about it.
We like that, but I think what we're getting to though is this emotional thing, right? So it seems to pervade all these situations. There seems to be an emotion, whether it's somebody, a psychic person like Reggie, reaching out to somebody that's passed on. That seems to unite that vibration. That's how you're able to see where they were, and it had to probably, I'm guessing, be an emotion on the side of the deceased to reach out to you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I heard like I know it was the day after and everything, a couple days after she was pulled in, but I could hear a very, very high pitched child's voice saying, "Please find me." And I could hear her, while I was doing all that, talking to the spirit, and yeah.
Anthony has a question for you. Ask, are you with a group or do you stand alone?
Definitely.
And Kristen is.
And I
brought Godsmack into
I brought Godsmack into it as a lyric for
I
I stand alone.
Who, me?
Yeah,
Yes,
you
you.
are you working with a group?
Do you do this
Tell
on
our
your
audience,
own by
are
yourself?
you doing it by yourself? I
That's
think there's
like my
probably
favorite song.
Yeah,
One of them.
Chris likes it too.
I'm not. Am I breaking up? Can you hear me?
oh, you're good.
You're good.
Are you able to hear me? Not in
Yes.
a crew. I'm actually with you know, Psychics Unite, that group, but we don't go out and investigate anything or go to particular locations. But I've been wanting to start like a Led to the Light crew, try and get something going on that way. I actually do what I do, and I don't know how to explain it. Greg would probably actually be able to explain it. I like light the place up, and I don't mess around. I want to hear them out loud.
We've referred
I
to you
want
as
to
a
hear them
ghost
out
master
loud. I don't
on
play
the
with
show
no.
before, and that kind of
I
goes back
don't.
to something that
I
you
don't.
said. So,
I
Greg,
don't. I don't play
you have
around with
investigated
Christmas lights, meters, any of that.
Reggie before, right?
You know, I. What's that?
I said you've worked with Greg before.
What's that?
Greg, I believe, was originally referred to you as a ghost magnet,
Yes.
right? So we've been
Oh,
calling you the ghost
yeah,
magnet. Greg, can you expound on that a little
yeah.
bit?
Oh, yeah.
Like, how did you guys meet and go out?
You know, I probably was in that cemetery about maybe 5 or 6 times. We used to do tours and take people into the cemetery, and I used to just stand back and watch where people went, because you could tell, about the people by the direction they went in, and it's just their abilities, and somebody was leading them,
Mhm.
and then it was like we had an opportunity. We got together with Reggie and his wife, and it was me and Sharon Moritz, and we all went in there, and it was like I wasn't really even halfway to setting up, and Reggie was going in there like he was going into a bar fight. He had his meter going, and his recorder going, and he just went from stone to stone to stone, and he was literally talking to every one of them. And then he sent me the message at the end of the evening that you have to hear what I got. And I was going, okay, and then I listened. And there's a lot to becoming a real believer in someone who can do amazing things. Everything I do, I have to work for. Reggie is just, they go to Reggie.
He's a natural.
Yes.
I always go in with a very soft-spoken approach, and I'm not saying that he was loud or, calling him out or nothing. He was just talking to them. Where I like to sit down and I like to just go ahead and have them come to me. But with Reggie worked the crowd, in other words.
I like that. He worked.
And he did an amazing job.
Mm-hmm. I believe
And
it.
I have 2 more cemeteries that we talked earlier about, and we're going to do. We'll get together like we did last time, and they're great locations because they go back to the 1830s, 1840s, like that. And these are places that I'm drawn to, and I want to see them. And I don't mean it inappropriately, but I want to see him work his magic. Again.
Absolutely. He sent us a video. Excuse me for 1 second. He sent us a video in our group chat, and I watched it. And that was today. And I can't believe the amount of energy that I could feel from Reggie through the phone, you know, I'm watching it on, and it's all love and
All
it's
through the heart.
Emotion.
yes,
Right.
yeah, and
All through the
Pl-
heart.
Plus the
Very
fact,
interested in love.
plus
mhm.
the fact that, excuse me, Anne Marie, but it's the fact that he has the gear there to bring up the things that we normally don't hear. If you know where I'm going with this, I mean,
The piano playing.
Yes.
there's so many
And all
different
three of them
things
the same
that we
tune.
miss. We miss every darn investigation. I miss it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Reggie can go home and he could go ahead and sit down in his little desk there with his it looks like a jet pilot's station with all the instrumentation and
A
everything
cockpit.
and a cockpit.
A
I didn't know if that I
If you're
didn't know if
smart,
that
if
was
you're wearing
appropriate
pants.
or not for the audience because it's we got 12 and under, right?
Well, not at
So,
this time of night. I think we're good.
well, but it's like he can filter that stuff
You can if you want.
No.
where normally I don't have that kind of ability, which
We
which
don't-
make
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
not
again,
saying I'm jealous of it. I
am.
there's some things that maybe I don't want to hear,
Yeah. Yeah.
or maybe
I-
there's things
going
that are
back
not
though, quick,
that are not
to-
intended for me,
to emotions, right? So
and that's
his
emotional.
connection to
Well,
these
I'll tell
deceased
you.
spirits has an emotional tangent to it. And we can tell that just by talking to you, Reg,
Mhm.
that you do feel an emotional connection, you know. And I want to put this out to the rest of us, you know, like, do you think emotions play a role in this? Like, it is it the longing, the caring about somebody who is maybe deceased inadvertently or murdered or something like that? Like Irene, you know, you speak a lot about people who have passed away from tragic events.
Yeah.
There
I
has to be
got
a lot of emotion tied around that, right?
Yes, there is. But I also got something right now. This little boy here, he's about 4 years old. He died of a fever. I'm wondering if he's attached to anybody in this chat or somewhere around in this chat or somebody. Something's here. He's here right now. He's a little he was not a very well boy, but he had a fever. He had ongoing illness, it looks like. He just came to me just as I was listening to everybody, and it was just really unusual. And sometimes when I go into chat, sometimes when I watch them, sometimes when I'm on them, I get visions of certain things. I'm just wondering if anybody's here that is attached to it or somebody who knows somebody like that.
Is he a new one for you, Irene? Or have you
Yeah,
seen him
I've
before?
never seen him before. He just came right. They come this way, this side of the house, when they're like in the middle of not crossing over, but just in the middle of it. And the people who died crossed over comes on this side of the left side. So then he's not crossed over yet because he seems like he just died, and it's just really weird. And I see him alone. I don't see his family with him either.
Now, when you say it feels like he just crossed over or he just died, like what is that feeling to you? Like, how do you know that?
Because he's on this side of the house with me. He's on the right side of the house. That's why. When they cross over, they're on the left side of the house.
So it's very directional to you.
Yeah.
People talk about that in clairaudience, right? Clear hearing, as it would be in French. They'll say, well, if I hear something in my left ear, it means one thing. If I hear something in my right ear, it means something else. You know, and it's not always the same pair of ears for everybody. It's just how they feel and interpret it. So is that the situation for you? If you feel something is in your left ear, it means one thing. If it's in the right ear, it means another.
Yeah, because my mother who died from the radiation poisoning from the atomic bomb in Hiroshima. She comes on this side. She comes right here. She's right here. And my grandmother and my grandfather's here. But the people that I don't know, or the people, there seems to be a not an open portal, but it seems to be a place where they can come in and talk to me and tell me. And if I concentrate a little bit longer, I can see what they look like, how they're dressed, and if there's anybody that's with them. But from the spirit world, I don't see his parents around. I only see him alone.
Interesting.
Again, I think that's like an emotional connection, right? So the people that are in your family or people you have like real ties to, you feel like they're a certain place, and others come in a different place, and that's how you interpret them. Nathaniel, okay, have you experienced this sort of thing? Like, I know you've been involved in a lot of pretty intense cases, my
Investigations,
friend.
yes.
And yeah,
Houses, residentials.
different things. Where do you
Yeah.
think these emotions lie in our interpretation of them?
I don't really know. I'm gonna say this and I have to get out of here. But in most malevolent cases I've had, the entity would always approach my right. You know, voices from the victim, especially the murder case I had, came to from my right. So it's a very strange phenomenon. You know, even the meters would just go crazy whenever it would approach from the right. So I think that might be just, it's either directional on their part, you know, where if they approach me literally from my right, or it's my interpretation. You know, maybe I'm more gifted on the right side than I am on the left. I don't really know. But like you said, it does vary. It varies from psychic to psychic, medium to medium, deliverance minister to deliverance minister.
Right.
When I was growing up, there were people that when they were praying for people, they would smell death, and it would smell like sulfur. And so that individual knew what to pray for, right? This is cancer. Why? It smelled like cancer. It smelled like death. But it doesn't mean another person would smell that and think, okay, this person has an addiction or something. So I think a lot of it has to do with how we can coordinate with our own gifting. And I think that with Reginald, man, I felt bad because, again, people like him used to counsel kings, right? And now we can't even contact law enforcement.
All right.
What a profound point. I mean, my God.
How do you reach
They
out?
used to go, right. They used to go to battle, put their kids in armor, put them on horses to go die based upon what someone felt and saw. And they trusted them, right? And now we can't even dial up a phone. Hey, man, you know, it's just how far we've fallen. And a lot of that has to do with churchianity and how we have demonized gifted people. And anyways, I gotta get out of here. Love you guys. I had a blast.
Thanks for stopping by.
Nice to meet you.
Good to see you,
Nice to
Nate.
meet you too,
Ghost
guys. I'll see you
Notes
guys next
Thursday nights on a Leak Project, right?
Yes,
So
sir. Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
Tune in.
Great show out there. Nathaniel J. Gillis on Leak Project. You can find on YouTube Thursday nights in particular, but look up Leak Project. Check out Nathaniel, and of course he's been on our show a bunch of times. We love him. He's like our family. Great guy. Again, getting back to emotions here, right, guys? I'm just trying to set a theme and find some kind of common relevance through these psychic and not so psychic experiences. I think emotion plays a role. Throwing it out to you guys. Anne, what do you think?
I think emotion has energy, and that's, you know, how it is. Happiness has an energy about it. Anger has an energy about it. Sadness has its own energy about it. And what, you know, that's
Absolutely.
how I feel.
Like, do you think, you know, we feel these things and it's an internal experience, right? You have this thing. It's either you're really mad, you're really sad, you're really glad, whatever it is. Does it end there? Maybe it goes beyond ourselves, you know, in our physical and spiritual bodies to end up in some place that we don't really understand. I mean, they're so important to us, and so many of our life experiences are built around those emotional states, and it's like intentional, right? Otherwise, what would be the point of life, right? If you don't feel any emotions, I don't know how people who are sociopaths that
Hi,
don't
kitty.
feel emotions at all
Mhm.
sustain
Yeah.
themselves. And some of those sociopaths have been the people who are our greatest criminals
Yes.
and serial killers and things of that
Exactly.
nature.
Mhm.
Maybe it is that lack of emotion
Right.
that
They
contributes.
don't feel anything. It doesn't
No.
bother them. Narcissists, they live off of other people, their energy. They take, the things that other people do and they use it as their own, like they came up with it.
Right. Totally agree with that. Irene, is your kitty being bad?
No, he just comes to me whenever he sees. My cat is also spiritual. He sees spirits too. He's 145 years old.
And
The
cat
cat
years,
is
years,
Look at him. He looks like Poe and Bunny. And
he doesn't have a
cute.
lot of grays, Irene. I have to tell you.
And which is 45 years old. He just turned 45 this August. So yeah, he sees spirits too.
Cute
wow.
baby.
Those are some eyes on
Beautiful.
him.
145.
Yeah, which is
Is that
45 years
cat
old.
years?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Is he 45 years old in our years?
Yes.
Really?
And
That's
yeah.
incredibly old for a cat. Like it's
And my husband said, you know what? He's like a walking zombie. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he died tomorrow, but he said the way he looks like he's never gonna die. Oh my god, what are we gonna do?
What are you feeding him?
Hey, just so you know, I look a lot of stuff up, and one of them is I keep telling my cat he needs to break the world record for the oldest cat, and the
45 with-
record. Well, listen, the world record according to Guinness is 39. So you need
Holy
to
cow. So
So you
he
have-
beat him, right?
better
record holding kitty.
Kitty.
is 39
take
years
his-
old.
Get
Get a
his
hold of
picture and
Guinness.
send it in.
45.
Get a hold of Guinness.
45.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Because he was he came to us as an orphan, and he was thrown on the ground with his siblings, and his sister is still alive too. She's here too. His sister is still. This is his sister. This is his sister.
Aw.
She's the same age as he is. And my
Sad.
How
son, my
dare you.
eldest son, he's 27 years old, and he came. These two came to us when my oldest son was only in grade 5 in elementary school. My son is 27 now. Think about it.
Wow.
Wow.
Anthony says, I knew a woman that was so close to her horse, she actually buried it in a handmade coffin. He was
Cool.
old. That is
Cool.
that is cool. Like to put the energy into making
Sweet.
the coffin
Yes.
is
Yeah.
just showing your connection to the deceased. I think that's amazing. And if your cat is 45, you have a record holding cat. Is there anything maybe that you're feeding this cat or doing to the cat that helps the cat live this long?
Low mineral cat food. Very expensive to tell you the truth.
Oh yeah,
And
we spend money on
a
our
lot
pets.
of
I understand.
raw meat diet.
Raw
A lot of
meat.
raw beef, raw chicken, stuff like that.
Things they would eat. in nature.
Sardines. Does he
Oh, you
eat
get your baby.
sardines too?
He eats cooked. I buy a whole fish and I grill it with no salt, no nothing on it, and I break it apart and I give it to the cats.
Wow. You're a really good cat, mommy.
Actually, my husband does that too.
He says you're a
Peter
good
here.
cat.
He kind of felt left out, so I thought I'd put him on camera. He's a superstar now.
Aw.
Oh, cute.
A
Yeah.
rock star.
So sweet.
Yeah, he's 19 in human years. Yeah.
He looks like a total rock star.
Yeah.
He
Oh
does.
yeah.
If cats had rock bands,
No.
he'd be in like Poison or
Wow,
something.
those eyes though.
Mm, most definitely.
Wow.
We have,
Guns
I
N'
have-
Roses.
yeah, I've got a black kitty just like that, and so does Chris.
with,
yeah.
with eyes like that.
crazy eyes,
Yeah, crazy eyes.
maybe third eyes. We don't know. We don't know the cat experience. They could,
That's beautiful.
but again, we love our animals, right? We all
Yeah.
love our pets, and we have emotional ties to them. And I'm going to keep circling back on this emotion thing. And I'm sorry to drive you guys nuts with it,
No.
but
I'm
I
not,
think
I'm,
it
I'm
plays
not going to
a
cry.
more
Chris.
significant
I
role
don't care.
in
I
the
don't care what you
paranormal.
do. I won't cry.
Don't
Do
cry.
you? Can
Please
I
don't
ask a question? Can I ask
Go
a
ahead,
question?
please.
Do you think? Do you think that the history books should be rewritten sometimes? Because when I see places with historical and lots of spirits around, they tell me the truth. And when somebody reads the history of a place, or a Pacific area that is known to the books or something like that, they tell me a whole different story from what people tell me. Well, this person was supposed to die there. This person was supposed to die, been killed there. This person had something to do with something that like that. And they tell this story in the books, and what they read up on it, like when they look it up on Google, when they read up on it. And then when I talk to spirits, no, that's totally different from what happened, really. And I have to tell them, well, this spirit is telling me this, and this spirit is telling me that. Especially if it's somebody with historical matter, with somebody that was very, very important to them, important person. But I find that no, this person told me this, and this person told me that, and this spirit told me this, and this person spirit told me that. So it's totally different from what the books say, or from what you look it up on Google. I don't know, and
Well,
I don't know the
here's the
person.
thing, Irene,
Yeah, the
right?
person.
If you are the same person in death that you were in life,
Yeah,
you may have the same truths to yourself, right?
yeah,
You may believe that, the earth rotates the way it does and the sun rises in the east. And in death, you may think the same thing. It doesn't, I don't think it necessarily has to be different,
no,
meaning that if you have a certain belief system or a belief here in the mortal coil, that maybe when you're deceased you hold some of those same beliefs. Maybe it's not just such a wake-up call, then you say, oh well, now I know all the answers. Maybe they just have the same belief system that they had here. And another thing I would add to that is it's pretty known that spirits can lie.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've experienced that ourselves.
Hmm.
As
Pull
Yeah.
the
spirits
wool. Pull the
can
wool right
be,
over your eyes.
They
they
Yeah.
don't necessarily are bound to some kind of truth where they have to tell you the truth, which
Yeah.
might be a conception for a lot of people.
That's true.
I'm a little girl.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, on my
It's
end,
the same
I
line.
get everything. On my end, I get everything from catching a lie here and there, but they're usually getting kicked out by my guides, and they swear just like me and
Oh,
you.
Yeah.
I was one time I was running everything, and I didn't hear it in real time. I heard it after, when I was listening to my recording. I had the white quitting smoking and trying to quit smoking and everything, and I could hear them in the white noise betting each other on whether or not I'd quit.
He won't do it. No, he will. No, he won't.
You know, and I heard one of them go, "Grab a smoke, Reg."
They're probably
Have another
placing
one.
bets on it too.
That's
I'm telling you what,
that's because they want you on the other side, Reggie.
I got a real ruthless, but pure of heart family around me in spirit, and the way they come through the extraterrestrials zooming by. I hear all that in the white noise too. I mean, there's been several times that.
Reg.
Huh?
Anthony has a really good question. I
Yes.
think you can speak to this. What are the ways to meet your guides And how will you know when your guides, when you meet them? Basically, how to meet your spirit guides. Any suggestions from our panel?
My methods are different than most.
So's
You go
mine.
ahead, Greg. You had your hand up, Greg. Go
Everybody's
ahead.
As part of my mediumship, when I first got into the psychic medium part, I did a lot of meditation. And one of the parts was to go into the forest. And I probably was in the forest maybe 30 plus times with no result. And I talked to my mentor and asked him, and he says, go back to the forest and they will come. And I went back to the forest, and if you can imagine, it was a whole bunch of lines of trees, and it was very dark on the outside edges. And I was walking down this same path. He had told me to sit in a chair, and I didn't want to sit down. And I was walking, and I got down to the end to make a turn. And as I went to make the turn, a shadow came out, and I saw the shadow to my right, and I turned my head, and he walked out. And I said, what should I call you? Because immediately I knew who it was. And he said to me, you can call me Hoppy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Hopalong Cassidy. And that happened with all three of my guides. Now, on my spirit animal, what was really a wild story, I think you guys have heard it. My spirit animal is a giraffe. When my grandson now is 7 or 8 years old. He was just born. He was like 3 months old. We were at the Denver Zoo, and I had him in his whatever you call it, or I was pushing him around.
The stroller.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
And he was in front of me, and I pushed him up. They wanted to go into the giraffe house, and we went into the giraffe house, and I pushed him right up to the end of the curb. Well, there's a curb, and then there's a metal fence that's like 3 feet high, and it's like, these things are so big, but I guess they know their boundaries. So as they started talking, so I'm talking to them, and I have my grandson right up there in front of me. And I go ahead, and we're talking, and all of a sudden their eyes just went wide, and they were staring. And I turned my head to look back, and here was this giraffe's head was over the fence, and it was about maybe this far from the baby's head, and was staring at the baby. And as the head came up, his head turned, and I made eye-to-eye contact with his one eye. And I didn't think anything of it. Next thing I knew, and as part of my mediumship, I had to go to the zoo, because that's where you meet your spirit animals. And they all lay out when you get in there. They're all laying out in this big, it's a big, or like an arena area, all the different animals. And you go around and you talk to the animals, and they're just there. And I did that almost the same amount of times. It was crazy.
That's interesting that you bring up the zoo. Like,
and then, it's part of the building
array of animals. Sorry,
Greg. Right?
And that it gives you more options or something because they're there. Do you think that's part of it?
I definitely, because people that are looking for spirit animals and everything else, if they don't have a course to set, you're given the ability to run into them. Now, the reason I think this is real, and it's real to me, and it's in my heart of what had happened, was because I went to that zoo and I was there umpteen times. And there was a food vendor truck, and you could get an ice cream, you could get a milkshake, you can get whatever you want. And it was people that I knew around me that were taking care of them, which made it even more bizarre. Anyway, finally, my mentor told me, get a chair and sit down, and the animal will come to you. And just like I was told to do another, 4 or 5 times, maybe after that original umpteen times, I was sitting in the chair and I was called this way by one of the people that I knew, and I just went to look this way. And as I brought my head back, there it was. And it was eye-to-eye contact again with the giraffe. Just
Wow.
like I had seen with my grandson.
Wow.
Interesting that you needed to get to the zoo to see the animal to draw that correlation and just know. When you mentioned going in the woods and that sort of thing, it reminds me of, and I know I've told you the story before about doing a guided meditation years ago about find your spirit animal, right? And it's, they walk you through getting relaxed, the whole thing, and you're walking through the woods and that sort of thing. And you're going along the path, and then what eventually happens after, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes of this relaxation and talk through the woods is I see a dog I had as a teenager, and just prior to that, and he still looked decrepit, poor thing, but there he was. And I expected like a wolf, I expected like a hawk, I expected a sort of like, crazy fierce animal or something like that. Like, what's my spirit animal? It's going to be something really strong. And I see my decrepit dog from my youth, and it got me emotionally. I was like, oh wow, there's Dustin, my dog, my Shih Tzu from so long ago. It was interesting, and it was from left field. I would have never guessed that would have been my spirit animal.
I don't know how his eye was like right here. I mean, he was right. He had bent his head over and gave me the same look that I had with my grandson. It's just like that, and that was the farthest thing from my mind. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
How does that happen?
It feels more genuine, but it's something from left field, something you would not have thought about yourself. That is where I think the spirit communication, when it's on a sort of psychic level, where it's not coming through a spirit box, makes more sense to me. If it's something you feel like you would have never thought about yourself, like I would have never came up with that, and here's that communication. Yeah, that always feels more genuine.
Mm-hmm.
It's too many synchronicities. Okay?
I was going to say that synchronicities.
Way too many that happen down the trails, and it's guides, and now it seems to be the same thing with the operators or the technicians.
And why do you call them that? Operators or technicians?
And you're talking about spirit box communications. When you say that,
yeah,
it kind of goes back to
I always ran guides. My guides, I would have my main guide. He would be at the front of the room. He would protect who came up to talk.
But they themselves represent some sort of in between person. If you're using, say, an ITC device,
right,
to talk to a deceased person, there might be somebody in the middle to create that. If I'm not mistaken, right, Greg? These are the operators that allow.
Well, now, once I found this out, it makes much more sense because, and this came from Bruce Holiday.
That show, I saw that. That was, yeah.
And
So
that
you-
was where your texts are there to do that.
right.
Your
Which
guides,
makes
your,
sense,
your
like,
guides are there to handle the spiritual end
people-
of it.
So we're asking, I think, for a little bit of background on what that is, what these operators are.
They're
Um,
people, they're
no.
spirit,
Yeah.
they're spirits that are there with the sole purpose of helping you communicate
To Bridget.
to Bridget, right?
Why do you
And
think that is? Why do you think they exist?
you know what? I have no idea, Chris. I really don't. All I know is, I'm on this ride and I'm going to take it for all it's worth.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And when I go before somebody that's been doing thousands of hours of this same thing that we're talking about, and you see the evidence like Reggie's right before your face on a website, and it's quite obvious to me that yes, I will do whatever I need to do with as far as the help of my guides or my texts to go ahead and communicate.
Well, it's interesting.
Whatever makes it, if you have to put new cable in, you put new cable in, right?
Right. There's a function that needs to be done.
And
right?
that's the same way. That's the same way I feel. That's the same way I feel.
It fixes the Wi-Fi, and now you can get out on the internet.
Right. I love it.
People do, and historically have held that position that there are these sort of intermediary people or spirits or whatever you want to call them in between, bridging that gap. Thoughts on the rest of you guys? Have you had some sort of experience where there was an operator, a sort of in-between person that helped bridge that communication?
Anne?
Yeah. I've been in certain situations that I know that there was like not something good wasn't going to be there. And I think that my guides or whoever they are, they kind of like guided me of what direction to go into, to stay away from that, and certain people and certain energies. But I think they're like, they guard the door of who, the more, like if you are, the more connected and the more you believe in yourself and your guides, the more you are protected. If you have a relationship with someone on the other side that you trust, and they trust you, and I think it has a lot to do with the respect that you give the world, or who you're going to get on the other side to respect you enough to speak with whoever's on the other side. And I think everybody has a different person or guide on that other side that want you to hear them and to get the word out, I'm here. And and I think some of them people keep the darkness away, or not even the darkness, just keep certain entities away from you.
Yes, I agree with that. I like that. I kind of like that as well.
Maybe they are a sort of filter from our unbridled emotions to the other side to make that connectivity more meaningful.
People always ask me about why is it Hopalong Cassidy? Okay, and it's like he was a childhood hero of mine that I had totally forgot probably when I was 11 or 12. All the pictures and everything else of when I was a youth aren't around anymore. There may be one or two. All the pictures were destroyed. But the point is that I think is important is the fact that it's something I can relate to, that I can believe in because it was part of my past.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been sent to me to help me along the way. Now, if it would have been Pee Wee Herman, I don't think it would have flew. Okay.
You know, you might have found
And
yourself.
I'm just saying, I don't mean anything bad to anybody. It's just the fact that
I hear you.
Yeah.
that's the way I am. And I thought that to me is an important part of how I believe today and what I love about what I do. And
Yes, it does seem to
important.
be a connection there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Anthony says, I once dreamed what would be on the front page of a newspaper the night before when it was being printed. Has this ever happened to anyone else on the panel before? And it's a great question.
Mhm.
Have you had premonitory dreams? I know personally I have.
I have.
It
I
wasn't
know
necessarily
Ann
the
has.
front page of a newspaper, but it might be things that happen in my day. I've
Or a
had,
couple
I don't
of
know
days
how many
later.
dreams I've had where I was at work, and this is very disappointing, right? Where you're having this dream and you're like at work for 20 hours and you wake up and you have to go to work. I go, oh, fuck, when does my day end, right? But things would happen in the day that corresponded to the dream I had, and it kind of made sense. It wasn't so significant that it changed anything or changed the world around me. It was just sort of like a reflection.
Irene, what do you think?
Have you had
Have
that
you ever had-
experience, Irene?
Yeah, I did. I dreamt that I won a lottery, and I did win.
Come on.
Did you really?
Oh, it's
Yeah,
awesome.
and I often do win because I usually look at the person who's selling the tickets, and I look at him. I go, and if I get a good vibe, or I don't know what it is, a vibe, you could call it feeling or whatever it is.
Mhm.
You look at the person who's selling it. You look at the counter. You look at, you look all around you and look at, And I said, okay, I'm gonna buy here, and I bought several of them. And I said, ooh, I won. My husband said, darn it.
Just don't do it with the Powerball because they'll watch this program and have you arrested.
Yeah, it's
Oh yeah, we're up to over $1 billion with the Powerball.
Oh, I know. That's crazy.
come
And
on.
and I even
gotta be
won
rigged.
back all the money that I got from the groceries. It's really weird.
It's amazing how many of these gifts we have in common.
Reggie's there right with you.
What?
Well, I think
you want to talk
right?
lottery?
We get into these conversations because we have these experiences, and then from those experiences, we feel certain emotions. And that's where I began the show with these
Oh
emotions.
yeah.
It plays a role. If the
Yeah.
emotions didn't exist, I don't think we'd be doing any of these things.
Nope.
Even stuffed animals at a fairground, I could win those too because I just look at the person who you pass the money to put on the whatever on the number or the birth date, and I won and I won several of those big huge stuffed animals. It's just everyone said, "How do you do that?" Don't ask.
Mm.
Now, Irene, just curious. I know you're on a lot of these shows, and we've talked in chat many times. I know you're from Tokyo, but do you live in Tokyo currently, or do you live in the
I
US?
do live in Tokyo,
Wow.
the most haunted city in all of Japan. Would you believe it?
Oh,
I just
What
had to
time is
wait.
it? What time is it over there now? I'm just trying to figure
It's
that.
about 10 after 2 in the afternoon.
2 p.m. in the afternoon.
Hmm
Wow. So you
And
already
it's a-
know what's going to happen.
Yeah, but
to
isn't it a different day too? What
She's
day
a
is
day
it today?
She's a day ahead.
it's what day is it? What day is it today? You're playing.
Actually,
You're
she's
day.
not. If she's
We're
2 p.m.
Thursday.
We've
Now
actually-
we're
Thursday,
Friday.
it's Friday.
on the East Coast, we're at 1:08 a.m.
Mhm.
on the East Coast,
Good Lord.
Eastern time.
Yeah.
So you were just a little later in our day, but there's a gap.
Thought it was
I
a
could
full-
show you. I live in a huge city. See, this is my city, just residential.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's
Looks like my
a non-haunted area. It's a non-haunted place. It was once a Japanese mandarin orange farm, but it's clean property, so I don't have to worry about that.
excellent, excellent. What drew you? I'm very curious. What drew you into the paranormal? Like, what was your first paranormal experience, Ari?
I got possessed twice by a dark spirit, and this was not in this house, but I lived in a suicide condo for 17 years, and oh no, that's not true, for 20 years, and then I got hit with two nasty dark spirits, and then afterwards, after that happened to me, I felt, I could hear these spirits in my ear. They're talking to me. They're telling me to kill myself because it's a suicide condo, right? 17 people plus one who died who committed suicide before we moved out. That was a lady, but I mean, 17 deaths is tragic. Deaths is really horrible, and they all jumped from the 12th floor of the building,
Oh my
and
God.
it was a high-rise condo, and like ever since then I could hear spirits. And when I was living there, I finally could hear them talk to me. I said, okay, I'm not going to listen to you guys. I'm pretending I don't hear spirits. I'm pretending I don't see anything. So I'm going to live out what I can do here. And then my husband said, well, it's time to move. Okay. Everyone started getting sick. I said, well, let's buy a house. We bought a house, and we said we have to move way far away from there. But we're only 15 minutes from where I used to live. And like now, from now on, I can hear spirits. I can talk to them. I can converse with them. I can help them. And like I've done 8 houses totally. I cleansed 8 houses totally. I crossed over so many of them that I can't even count on my big toes anymore. But I
That
mean,
is super interesting. So your gifts came from living in a place that there was a lot of suicides, there was a lot of tragedy, there was a lot of things going on there. Um, and you didn't really have that experience prior, or at least it was enhanced by the events of your location.
yeah, my mom, she was empath. She was sensitive. My children are all empaths. My children are all sensitive. I have 3 children. They all can see spirits. They all seen full operation, body operations. They've seen everything like that.
Hmm. But living in
It's
that house really seemed to bring it to fruition, or it made it really clear to you by
Yeah,
being in that place
yeah,
that these things are happening around you. And now that you've moved on from there, you still feel it, right? And it
yeah. I
reminds me
do.
of like alien abduction experiences. People say that once they've had that experience, their psychic gifts are enhanced.
Yeah,
It's pretty well documented that that happens. So it seems like it's the same kind of parallel, right?
yeah,
You go into a place and there's all these things going on and all this kind of energy running around, running rampant.
mhm.
hmm
You leave it and the gifts follow you.
yeah. But you learn to turn it off too, because you need your own time. Like, this is my bath time. Do you mind? I'm eating dinner. Okay, not now.
Don't you always
Pick a
wonder if they can
number.
see you naked, right?
Yeah. Isn't that a book?
I
He
think it
goes to
is.
watch you take a shower.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
take a shower. I'm trying to
yeah.
Yeah.
pee.
They don't know
Watching.
the meaning of of, of privacy, or going to the even going to the toilet is like out.
They seem to have different rules.
Yeah,
Yes.
my rules are my rules, and their rules are their rules. But I've seen, like, living in a haunted country. Of course, you've seen a lot of stuff. You know a lot of stuff. You have to learn to live with it, and you have to turn it off. And it's just like finding a new place to live. I would never found this place unless I bring my eldest son, who's also sensitive, also, and he helped us purchase this house, because without him, I wouldn't buy another place, because my husband found that condo, and I said, I'm not going to trust you ever again, because I'm not going to go through this again. Do you mind? I don't trust you anymore. So I asked my eldest son, let's go house hunting. And he found this. And he said, okay, this property is good. And he said, okay, we'll buy it.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'm glad you guys found a place,
Mm.
but it was a little alarming when you you prefaced the name of it by calling it the suicide condo,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Whoa, wait!"
Whoa.
That sounds scary.
Um, yeah, I know. I've known 5 people who died. My close friends, their husband died of a heart attack. One died of a brain cancer. He was only 36 years old. He was a friend of my children's daughter, and I know his wife. She was a really nice person. They just moved there that last year, and so her husband died. I know they took him. I know they killed him. I know they took him, and is
Who are they?
Yeah.
Who are they when you say that? If you don't mind me asking, like who would?
the same spirits who asked me to kill myself.
Yeah, you
Dark,
think
dark
they
spirit.
haunt the area to actually they want people to die? Like what
Yeah,
value do they
either
get?
you get sick, or if you have a weak area in your body, they attack that. Um,
Hmm?
they can kill you that way, and that place they can kill you. I tell you, the ground is really bad. The ground, I think the ground where the building stands on is is contaminated. I think the whole condo is contaminated. Like, I mean, later on I'll send you a picture of the condo. Like, you wouldn't be able to. I mean,
Dude,
if I look at it, it makes me ill. I
It
I
mean,
would
it
like to
sounds
see
like
it.
they're soul takers. Like,
yeah,
Just
like
talking
it really
about it
is.
yeah,
gives me a disturbed
it's
feeling, and
me too. And
I think there's something there. I would like to send me a picture. Send
I
us a
will.
picture,
I will.
please. Yes,
please.
that's interesting.
But you
What?
remember, you have a lot of samurai warriors who had to commit suicide, who had to seppuku, it's called, who had to kill themselves, and their graves are still haunted. I see a program right now. It's playing on the TV set on a History Channel, of how their lives were, and where the great they show after near the end of the program, they show the graves where they're buried, and yeah, their graves are very haunted too.
I believe that most definitely.
All right, I'm gonna pitch a question from our audience. Anthony says, "Anyone here ever been told by different people with abilities that they are star seeds?"
We're all getting
I
together.
Nope.
Uh-oh.
I don't
Did
see
I hear
him.
my word?
I don't see him. He was here a minute ago, but I think he's escaped.
Nope.
Am I here?
No,
Yep.
you're out of Pleiades. You're
Pleiadian.
I got the word cuckoo.
Yeah, I don't
We're all cuckoo.
know exactly how to explain it. Um, by definition, I mean, everyone on the planet is a star seed. Like everyone, all animals, all everything is a star seed. And it's whether or not you recognize your alien soul or not. And a lot of people have become humanized in their soul. I've I'm trying to look for words here.
Okay,
Like,
take your
okay, he was talking about Greg was talking about your texts, for example. Okay, and as Anthony also asked about the guides and that too, right? Okay,
Yes.
Yes.
okay. The one I call Prime in my videos, he sounds like Optimus Prime. That's why I call him that.
Mm.
Okay, he's an Orion.
For those of us who haven't
I'm
seen
in
that
Canadian.
movie, what does that sound like? I'm not sure what you mean by that. When he sounds like Prime,
Um,
Transformers.
is it deep voice
It's
or-
Transformer. Yeah.
a robot type voice.
okay?
Well, I'll
I,
put it to you this way: you saw my video today, right?
Mhm.
Okay, that was in
Yes.
honor of Wilma Roeder playing the piano. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, after I asked if Pauline and Carl and Emma were there, and I was going around, and then that very first little piano piece you heard, right after that, Prime said something on the video, and you can hear like a drum beat in the middle of what he was saying. If you listen to that, but I didn't post it. I didn't post what he said. Well, he's like the tech. He's like the tech. He's very he helps guide them to process through the white noise.
So you feel he stands between you and him is
Spirit,
sort of
like a mediator.
a mediator between the two. Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, he helps them to talk through it much easier. Okay, and as far as the rest of my my team goes, I kind of drifted off the question, didn't I? Starseed. Okay. I had to look up at the screen. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for keeping the question up. Andrea and Luther in my videos, they're Andromedan. And Madeline and Avius are Cirrus guides. Luther and
are these
Andrew.
children? Can you expound just a little bit on it?
Well, okay. Well, when it came to the other question about how'd you know who your guides were,
Mm-hmm.
All right, you're
and then
the guide. All right,
and you were
I'm
talking
sorry.
about
Trying to clarify. That's all.
okay. Well, the my awakening was tremendous, and everything from poltergeist activity to scratches to you name it. I think they were trying to stop me. Some dark ones, I want to call them, were trying to keep me from awakening or keep me from becoming who I'm supposed to be. And at that time, I mean, I heard my name out loud everywhere I went, like clairaudient, out loud.
Mhm.
I would go through the gas station and hear my name in an aisle in the town that I worked in, and I would think it was somebody that knew me at the bowling alley. And I'd turn and look, or I'd go down an aisle looking for somebody that just said my name. I'd turn around to go back, and my name would be said again. And these voices happen so often. I thought I was going crazy. So what I did, was I went ahead, because my mom used to always watch Ghost Adventures. She got me kind of into that, so I knew about all this little technology stuff. And I went ahead and started buying spirit boxes and EVP recorders, because I'm like, man, if I'm hearing this out loud, I got to be able to record it somehow.
Yeah.
I turned that spirit box on, and bam, all the actual, when they said my name out loud, their voice was coming through that spirit box. Their voice was. And the reason why I became in touch with them as my guides was because with my psychic medium abilities, what I feel in my heart, and my guides know it, seeing is believing, hearing is believing with human ears. And so I second guess that thought that a psychic medium would get all the time. I question whether or not it really happened or not, or if I was really told something. So they know I go through a spirit box. That's my means of communication. So the psychic medium abilities kind of intertwine with the spirit box. So everything I should be hearing as a psychic medium, I'm hearing it through the box. That's why I get so much talk. Everywhere I go, those same
to think
everywhere.
about. Right? I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
No, go
I
ahead.
want to bring this up because, like, is it our belief in the box can possibly relate the words versus just having the clairaudient experience of the spirit talking to you, right? I think there is something that happens on our side as well with our brains, with being able to perceive the thoughts that they're trying to communicate to us. Like it's a two-way situation, right? Look at devices like the Ovilus and how it works, or whether even an EMF
A
meter,
cell
right?
phone
So
app.
simple, right? An EMF,
Yeah.
or a little burst of that.
Yep.
It communicates the believability to us. So I think half of it is probably our willingness to accept that they're saying what they're trying to say, versus they're trying to reach out to us.
And that also brings back, and Greg mentioned it a little while ago, that he missed out on the tachyon energy.
You got to pass me that link.
Can I
That's all
ask
there
you
is
a
to it.
question?
when you get into such a deep meditative conversation with them through a spirit box, and I'm referring, well, I only use the SB7. Okay. When you get into such a deep meditative feel, and when you're communicating with them, your voice will come through that spirit box as you're talking to them. I've caught it on video 2 or 3 times. When we were out at that cemetery, me and Greg and Sharon were at that cemetery. I've got a recording because I left cameras sitting everywhere. I heard Greg's voice come out of Sharon's spirit box as he was talking to her.
Mm-hmm.
Simultaneously with
Yeah.
you. Okay.
I've
And
had
he was
that
sitting
happen.
like 3 feet from her.
So they can do that.
Oh, I
definitely.
love it. I
As
love
well.
it, Anthony. I always
Very
talk
easy.
about Thoth.
I'm gonna.
Lemuria.
I have to go. I have to go.
Okay.
No, you know what?
Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm
Thank you,
pulling
Greg,
the pin.
and I apologize if
No.
my last response to you, Reggie, was like long and a little bit slurry. I'm a little bit tired too.
Yeah.
I've had a wicked long day. Like literally, I was on like a 6-7 hour call before I put this together. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been absolutely amazing as usual, and you guys are awesome. Everybody, you guys are awesome, and everybody here in the panel, and this is what makes it. And there's some amazing Irene. I don't know. The
So nice
the
to have
town
Irene
the
on,
town
right?
you live in here, it's
And Anne Marie.
Of course.
Anne Marie always is.
You guys on here. It is so cool. And I think really it's pretty late. Again, I have to go back to work in the morning. Maybe we'll wrap this up. But wow, what a great show. And it's so great to hear you guys, your experiences back to us, and what that feels like. The start was just some talking point like emotional energy. And here we are. We've talked about so many things. It's been fantastic.
As long as you don't wear that hat next time.
I love the hat.
I'm just kidding.
hat.
I don't. You can wear it.
Uh-oh.
You can wear it every day if you want. I don't care.
I do. I
think
I did it from the show.
I have to get my
Well,
own hat. I'm tired
If
of
you
wearing
saw me,
baseball
I was
caps.
doing this. I was picking out some energy that came on that came in the
I thought so.
the chat when we talk about spirits. You bring in energy, right? Sometimes some things like to follow on, and they go into electrical equipment, so they screwing out the electrical equipment. So I was like this. I was picking out and removing it.
I don't know about anybody else. I was picking it up when you were talking about Tokyo.
Yeah, that was part right there. Yeah, I could feel it.
And and it's it's a hardship for you to live with, to say the least.
What is
living in Tokyo?
Oh,
I think
yeah.
It's a bustling place, but it's got some crazy energy, doesn't it, Irene?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You say is a good energy in Tokyo overall?
Yeah.
Can be. It can be. It depends where
It
you
can.
go. It depends on where you have to stay away from. I
Yeah,
don't
right.
go something alone because I don't have anybody who can go with me who has the same energy as I do. So I don't go out and look for trouble because I know there's
No.
lots of trouble in this country.
And you can create your own energy too for that.
Mhm.
That's true. So I don't.
I think we're all victims
with-
of that.
I'm
I think we
fine
all
with cleansing
feel,
houses. That's safer for me.
with our expectations. But that's a theme for a whole nother show.
Yeah.
Right.
So we'd
Yeah.
like to have you
Yeah.
come back. And
Can we
love
do
doing
this
these
again?
Panels. Yes, please.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of
It was-
fun. It's been
Yeah,
great.
It
absolutely.
was super
So all
wonderful.
of you.
Thanks for inviting me
Earlier.
too.
Let's do this
Next-
earlier in the day.
No, next time we should
Maybe a
start
little.
about
Take a
we
nap.
should start about
We need-
2:30 in the morning. Just
We need
go to
to
daylight.
find out. We need to find out. The
An
Guinness Book of
all-nighter.
World Records is for the longest podcast and break it.
Well,
No,
well,
Reggie,
glad,
you can do that with everybody
I missed
here.
the
I'm
mic
not.
when-
I'm on
not.
Irene's time right now. I don't care if we go till 10 p.m. Irene's
Yeah,
time.
well, I've already been on another show before this, so I'm
Oh, I
I'm
I
like
know.
burned out. My brain is
marathon night.
It's
Yeah.
12.
toast.
It's
Okay.
12:30 a.m. here. I'll be up till 6
Okay.
a.m. here.
Well,
I-
Well, if you come, I'll make you breakfast.
breakfast sounds great.
That was a good idea.
And
I can
as
also
soon as
cook
I get,
too. I can also
I'm
cook
hungry.
and bake also. So
I'd eat
I'll help
breakfast
you.
and I'd fall asleep.
I'll feed you.
What is
No
a
problem.
traditional breakfast in Japan?
Rice, soup, grilled fish, or an omelet. You know,
Mm.
pickles.
Omelet, just the
Pickles.
omelet and a piece
I
of
like-
toast.
That's something I
That
did.
sounds kind of interesting.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I would try that for sure.
Absolutely,
And
Sounds good.
I make Westerners and Eastern. I make both, so I can do whatever. I can do whatever you want. Whatever you want to eat, I can make you.
That sounds
Okay.
fantastic,
Thank
actually.
you. I
I'm
wanted to
getting
say
hungry.
thank you to all of our viewers as well.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Especially Anthony, Free.
Anthony,
Yeah.
um,
Cameron, I'm sorry. We started late though, so Cameron said, I missed it. Damn it.
Samantha, all of you guys. Your guy Haynes there
Yes.
had a lot of comments. Thank you guys so much.
Love and light to everybody.
You too.
Love and hugs.
We
We'll
love
see
you
you
guys.
guys.
And thank you, our
Love
guests,
you.
for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Bye bye.
Have a great
As,
night.
Good
As
night.
Kristen does.
This.
Good night.
My heart.
Night.
Thank you all.